So I've got a client in an hour, guys and girls, so I've got just enough time to do this video. Wow, what a breakthrough this morning. This just come to me, just doing, this is such a great thing that come, this is a blessing. I'll call it a breakthrough, and I 100% believe this is a breakthrough for me, my clients, and anyone that needs help that follows me. And I know it sounds quite a deep thing to say, but I think even people that don't know me, and they don't need to know me. So this morning it come to me about, the origin of my anxiety problem, my mental health problem, excessive worrying and negative thoughts, etc. And I'll read this out. Now, there's so many different perspectives I can give just to clear my head to get this out. This is the battle sometimes. This is what happens. This is what fear and anxiety does to all of us. I see this with clients. When you're going to tell the truth about something that you're scared of, or that you're vulnerable, or where your mind and your ego thinks people could judge me there, and they could, it starts to try to protect you. And this is the fight, this is the battle of facing those fears, especially verbally. And that's something that I learned a long time ago, and I keep remembering, but sometimes my mind tricks me, that probably the best help that stopped me from committing suicide, I know but it's true, and really suffering, was complete honest confession about whatever I was frightened of. That's probably, if I'm being honest, more powerful, or just as powerful, as taking action on a fear, which is obviously really important, and I will get to that and explain the difference between the two and then the connection, if that makes sense. So at the moment, I'm sure a lot of you can see, I'm going through changes, I'm growing as a person, which is brilliant, and I'm helping more people, and that's the whole point. I can't continue to help people if I'm not growing, and I'm not looking after my mental health, and I'm not being honest about my ongoing fears and my battle with anxiety, and also my progress, because of recent, there's been massive amounts of progress that I've made in my personal life, areas where I never made progress before because I wasn't aware, or I was aware but I was frightened. I wasn't ready to look at it and face it and go through the pain and the suffering. And of recent, I think the traveling has done a lot of this, and the praying. I've been praying a lot to God, what is my purpose, what is the right thing to do, all these things, the dieting, the things I'm grateful for, the challenges, helping my clients. It's a collection, and learning from other people that are smarter than me, that are older than me, that are wiser than me, that are further ahead on their journey, if you want to call it that. And also, being very honest with myself as well, and saying to my mum, and I'm a grown adult, I want to be more responsible. Where am I weak? Where are my patterns? And my mum's great, she'll tell me. So on reflection to that, let's read this out. So, Jonathan, is obviously my name. So, this was my biggest challenge for me, worrying about the future, wanting certainty all the time in order to be able to relax and feel happy as a child, as a young boy, and all the way up until my adult life, until this present time now. My identity became this thought pattern, which was obviously not who I was, but because I believed it for so many years, and I fed it by constantly worrying about everything and things going wrong or things going right, or not being able to handle things, the identity continued. I wasn't aware for so many years, especially when I was a kid, obviously, and a young adult in my 20s, I wasn't aware that it was me that was creating my anxiety and my suffering, or a part of me, right? My mind, the negative mind, or some people know it as the ego. Then I became afraid to stop worrying, because I didn't know what would happen if I let go of my excessive worry that I had as a child, that continued to follow me up until my adult life. This identity was created when I was a young boy. Now, this is a funny story, I remember this. I remember my mum brushing my hair when I was younger, you know, getting me ready for school. This was when I had more hair than I've got now, right? But obviously I'm better looking now. I was a cute kid though. I looked a bit geeky. I had long, thick hair, perfect hairline. What can you do? So I remember when I was younger, I was in the kitchen. My mum was brushing my hair. She was getting me ready for school. She was putting my tie on. She was doing my, doing my shirt up, just being a great mum. And I remember feeling terrified and feeling anxious in my stomach, sick with worry and fear, and feeling like I need to vomit, diarrhea, throw up, nauseous, panic. And I was just terrified of going to school in case something bad happened to me. And the thoughts that were creating this anxiety and this worry and panic in my stomach was I was afraid of not being able to learn lessons, and I was also afraid that everyone else in my lesson would be able to do the lesson or the task that the teacher was teaching, whether it was an equation in maths, whether it was completing a certain task or reading something out or writing something. I was really afraid that everyone else would get it, because the class would be about 20, 30 kids or plus, and I'd be the only one. And that really frightened me. So I was afraid of looking stupid, and obviously all the kids like laughing at me, and I was frightened of the feelings that would bring up, the emotions of embarrassment, deep shame, feeling indifferent, feeling alienated, and just feeling completely stupid and unintelligent. And that feeling that, why can't I do this? Like, everyone's doing it. It's so normal, but I can't do it. I've got so much anxiety and stress, and I'm so worried about making a mistake and being punished and being hurt or harmed mentally, emotionally, that I can't do it. I was also afraid of being bullied by the other kids that appeared to be stronger than me, and this was mainly men, boys, because I went to a mixed school. So my constant worry created anxiety and depression and suffering. This same pattern continued all throughout my adult life. Obviously now I'm fully aware of it. It's been an ongoing journey. I became aware of it quite a few years ago, but I'm more aware of it now. Different levels of awareness. I also became terrified of hospitals and doctors and getting sick. I was terrified of injections and needles, to the point I would pass out and feel sick from the worry of having an injection. I remember we had to have these injections years ago in school, and I didn't want to have it. I think it was called a BCG, and I remember collapsing, passing out on the desk, fainting. The teachers had to come and pick me up, and I had to sit down with like a doctor or nurse to calm me down, because I was so frightened of it. I later developed health anxiety and an intense fear of death that affected my ability to live a full life and to open up to people and build relationships. I was scared of dying, and I was scared of losing people that I loved. I was scared of them dying. As a child, I was terrified of intense emotions, whether they were really negative emotions or whether they were very positive, strong, loving emotions. I was afraid to feel, and it made me overwhelmed. The experience of reality and living just became overwhelming for me at times. I just couldn't cope with reality, or the concept or the idea of living, breathing, emotions, people, life, money, education. Couldn't always cope with it. I constantly wanted to feel safe as a child growing up. I was desperate for safety as a kid. I didn't want to be hurt, because I'd been hurt before several times, and it left me feeling terrified and deeply depressed and hopeless. My social anxiety also originated from this same pattern. That social anxiety, as you can hear in my story, when my mum used to get me ready for school, doing my hair, putting my tie on. It was the anxiety of the kids, of being around kids and them seeing me nervous or picking on me or laughing at me or bullying me. Yeah, I had a belief that I couldn't handle being hurt, and I couldn't handle the emotions it would trigger in me if I did get hurt. I just wanted to get away from danger constantly. I also remember not Not with my mum, of course, because I told her she was great, but you know, people in general. I was embarrassed and ashamed to admit this to other people other than my mum, my nan, and at some point I broke and told my dad, but I didn't tell my dad in full detail because I was also embarrassed about what my dad would think. I was worried that he would think I was, you know, I wasn't a man, I was weak, which later on that's not true. So not being honest about my fear to the whole world and myself, getting it out like this, is what kept the fear alive. And it kept me in a, I wouldn't say constant, is that accurate? I wouldn't say constant, but I'd say consistently I was living in a prison, a mental and emotional prison of constant worry and anxiety of something bad happening and me not being able to handle it. So the thought pattern as a kid and as an adult, sometimes it would be strong, sometimes it would be unconscious in the background. What if something bad happens to me and I can't handle it? So, funny enough, back to 2017 when I was in the mental hospital and something did happen to me that was bad, you know, from that perspective. I mean, not to scare anyone, but one of my worst childhood nightmares growing up was going insane. Like going, you know, seeing, you know, when you're younger you don't mean it, we all do it, but you know, when you're younger you might laugh at someone in a movie because he's a psycho, he's crazy, he's running around, but you don't really understand what it's like if someone is suffering. Obviously I had a lot of friends go through mental health before my breakdown, so I would never judge it in that way. You know, you're a kid, you're innocent, but it was still my worst nightmare. No, my worst nightmare, losing my business, having no money, losing my girlfriend, losing my family, losing my mind basically, and being locked up in a prison or a mental hospital. That was like one of my, other than death, worst fears all throughout my life. And actually it happened. That actually happened, and when it happened, obviously I couldn't do it on my own, but with my faith I did get through it. And all those things that I feared as a kid, they did come up. Terror, hopelessness, shame, all those emotions came, but I found my faith and I prayed, and I was honest about it, which is something that I am really good at doing. I will have to say that about me. When I have to be honest, that's my strength. I think God's given me that as a kid, and that has always helped me to teach and right now. But it doesn't mean it's easy. I couldn't do it without my faith, and who knows, man, my ancestors, my dad, my mum, my instincts. I don't have all the answers to every deep question in life, but I know enough to say what I'm saying now and then believe it to be true. So in hospital, obviously my mind was an exaggerated version of the normal level of anxiety, which is when you become unwell and you need help. I overcame it. I've made a full recovery, but of course, now making a full recovery, I still have the normal anxiety levels that normal people have, but I'm making so much progress with becoming aware, and I'm developing strategies to handle it and not worry. And lately, honestly, it's such a beautiful thing. I'll go into it more. The way that I've been beating this pattern is by, number one, being aware of it, but not being truly aware, not denying it, and not judging myself or judging other people, and then saying, right, how can I be, you know, where is the truth here? What can I do? Living my purpose, living every day to the full and being the best person I can be. When I do that, it's like it wipes it out. The pattern goes and I don't identify with it, and I don't act on those compulsive behaviors that pattern would make me do on an unconscious level to protect this young boy in me. Obviously I'm an adult now, but we've all got a young child in us. So it's the child that's terrified, but the adult me, I'm not, in a healthy way, I'm not frightened, I'm very strong. So millions of people will be like, I'm sure people will be like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Jonathan's talking about me. I've got this. Look, everyone's got it. Everyone has this pattern. You don't get away from being human, but some of us have it more than others. Now I could be wrong, but I'm going to be vulnerable, put my ego aside. I probably had it more severe than most people because I had such bad, intense fear growing up. I was so frightened. I was so frightened that I became brave. And that's where a lot of my courage comes from. It comes from faith. It 100% comes from my dad, because my dad was a brave man, and he taught me as a kid through all of his ways, the great things he done. No parent's perfect mistakes. I'm grateful, right? Because obviously I am grateful. Some men don't have a father to love them and be a man and guide them in the right way and teach them these skills. So it wouldn't be right if I didn't be honest and give my dad credit, because he did do it. Couldn't do it without him. So my dad, my faith, being bullied at school and just thinking, you know what, I'm not going to have this anymore. So I started to stand up to kids that bullied me physically, and I fought back, and they stopped. They were frightened, they stopped, or I verbally could talk to them. These days, which is brilliant, thank God, I don't get into altercations and fights, because my heart's changed, my mindset's changed. But those programs are still in me. They live in us. And that's part of the mind, how it keeps us safe. So it's a safety mechanism. So anything that triggers that or threatens that, it brings up that story and those emotions. But now I can handle those emotions better because of, and it's not, I want to make a point of saying, because it's brilliant, we have a lot of this today in this world, which is great about awareness. But for me, awareness is important, but what's stronger is my honesty. The honesty is healing, getting this out. And I remember having this realization quite a few times, and I was scared to admit it. I felt like God told me to do this. But sometimes your mind will get in and say, oh, it's not God, it's you're being dramatic, or you're being deep, or you're going crazy. But I knew I wasn't. My mind told me that, no, your mind said not do it. But I always felt in my heart, true in my heart, that I was meant to do this to help a lot of people. I was meant to be vulnerable about my anxieties and open up and not protect myself and not be proud and get it out. It would help so many people, and I feel so good about doing this. There's not a single bit of me that feels I shouldn't do it, you're going to be judged. And I don't mind if I'm judged. Like I said on the stream yesterday, it's actually a compliment. If you're not getting judged and criticised, you're not living truthfully, you're not trying. You can't go out and help other people without getting judged by another group. If I go and feed the homeless and do good acts, someone will judge me and have something to say. So all you can do is just forgive and appreciate them. Appreciate that's where they're at. And we've all judged, we've all been critical. So I'm sure a lot of you will get inspired to look at your patterns, because that's how you get better. And I'm 40 now, the 25-year-old me or the 22-year-old me would never have imagined I'd be doing this now, because he was frightened, didn't have the strength and couldn't find it. But I want to help people more than I want to protect myself. I don't want to do that. That's selfish. It's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. So it's really freeing, and then you start making sense about, and then you appreciate your journey. Then you say, well, I wouldn't have the friends I've got now. I wouldn't have the clients. I wouldn't have you. If I didn't go through this, I wouldn't know all of you, and you wouldn't know me. So I can't regret it. I can't be ashamed of it, because it's shaped my journey. And that's the same story for all of us. And I know it's hard for a lot of us to come to terms with that, because we have shame from the past about our fears or our problems or anxieties or our abandonment or what we've been bullied. But we can come back. I mean, that's the story of the Bible. That's the story of all walks of life in history. We all struggle on this journey. We all do. We all struggle. Even when things are going well, it's a struggle for me. I remember when Mike Tyson said that, it freed me. Someone was interviewing him and they said to him, your life's going amazing. You got your business, you got your money, you got no lawsuits, you got your wife, you got your family, you're clean, you're sober. And he went, yeah, but that's what frightens me. He goes, when things go well, I'm scared, because I'm worrying it's too good to be true. Same pattern. I've got the same thing, but I'm improving it and working through it. And be careful what we say, because I've realized when we say these things, I do it, I just caught it. We're feeding that identity. We're saying, so what I would say is, well, that's not who I am, but that's one of my patterns. I have a pattern. It's not me, it's not who I am as a person, but it's one of my patterns, my emotional patterns, which gets frightened and overwhelmed when things are going well in my life, because part of me fears that it will be taken away, or I'll be harmed, or I'll be threatened or punished in some way. Then you can start to not feed it. Then you can live a full life. And this is all living a better life. And it's kind of crazy when you say it, it's so simple. It's like, of course that's the truth, but when you're in the fear, it feels so complicated. It feels like you're not allowed to talk about it. No one will understand. They're going to hate you. They're going to judge you. Everyone's going to be like, what's he talking about? I'm fine. But everyone goes through this. Everyone, and that's why, and I mean this healthily, that's why, I love people anyway, and I practice. It's not easy, because I generally love people from my heart, but it's not easy to love people when they're being, really unkind. I practice, but that's why I love people who are vulnerable. They don't care, or they help me, they help so many of us. When they're vulnerable about their deepest insecurities, and they're not just vulnerable about their deepest insecurities, but they've made progress. So they're a good living example. I said that to a client once. He said to me, what's the balance, Jonathan, of sharing your vulnerability with someone, but not in a way where it's abusing them, where it's victim mentality, it's bringing them down? I said, there is a balance. The way I'm doing it now, he got it, we practiced it. So when you're teaching from a place of strength and generally saying, and this is a nice thing, I don't need you to feel sorry for me, and I don't need you to parent me, and I don't need you to love me or protect me. I'm doing it, but I'm getting this out because this is me being honest, and I'm also caring for you. And look at the energy is beautiful that I'm exerting, because I'm in a good place and I'm grateful every day, and there's good energy coming out of me. I can feel it, and I'd feel if it was like a negative, complaining, ranting, and that's fine as well. There's forgiveness for that. So it's the place that you do it from, and it takes a lot of courage. Even like my mentor, Jeff said once, Jeff Thompson, I remember when he was mentoring me, and I said, Jeff, do you ever get scared? And he was, yeah, of course I do. How do you deal with it? Calls it out, but in a strong way. So he said he was doing a talk one day. He was giving a presentation. I think it was, he's done it in prison, schools, but I think it was a business somewhere, Jeff said, and he walked in and he said he was terrified. He felt fear. And he called it out, and he said, I'm frightened, and I just want everyone to know that, but I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to experience this and see where this goes. Then I could cry. You feel that, and then he taught his teaching. The whole room stops. The whole room is moved and helped because of the strength of the honesty and the vulnerability, which comes from a place of strength. Not, oh, feel sorry for me. Oh, please like my video. It's not about that. It's not about that. And people feel that, and that helps other people, and I feel that. And that's the brilliant thing about people and about honesty and the heart. And if we're going to help one another, we got to be real. We got to get real. If we don't get real, we're not going to heal. that rhymes. If we don't get real, we're not going to heal. I should put that on the title. So it feels good, And then you look back I'm going to be honest. And I apologise for it. I'm still human, and we judge sometimes. I would judge people when I was younger, when they were talking about healing and loving yourself and the child. I'd be like, oh man, that is cringe. That's weak. I'm being a man. But now I've gone through stuff. I don't judge, because the judging is back to me, because they were going through suffering, and they're being honest. They were stronger than me. The judgment can come sometimes where we're weak. We're judging people because deep down we don't have that strength to say, yeah, I'm going to love the inner kid in me, or the young person in me, to be a stronger person. That's how we become an adult, by parenting this child in us. So things start to make sense. What's the time? Don't be late for my client. Oh, I've got perfect time. 10 minutes, perfect. So yeah, as I said, when I went to Latvia, I had such a good experience. There was a time on that trip where I just broke down crying. I loved it. Not like in a weak way. It was gratitude. I was walking around, the scenery, the connection, the journey that I've been on, the fact that I was able to do it. Because that young boy who had a full head of hair, his mum was combing his hair and getting him ready for school, that was terrified. That boy could never imagined that he'd grow into an adult and be the person I am, which I'm pleased of who I am as a person, and the things that I've been able to do, and the people that all of you that I've been able to meet on my journey, and I've been able to help you. That's all I ever wanted to do as a kid, in my dream. Just wanted to be happy in my life and succeed in a good way, in a non-egotistical way, and just help other human beings, and just make my life mean something, and be good to my family, and follow God and follow my heart, and just try and be a good person. That's all I wanted to do. Pretty simple, really. I think most of us want to do that. I had a goal, I had a dream, and now I'm living that dream. You know, I can't even believe that I'm, you know, living in London where I'm living. I didn't believe it. You know, I never believed these things were possible, because those fears and anxieties made me believe that I was that identity, which is someone that's frightened, not good enough, and can't handle things. And I've handled so many things in my life and going through a lot of stuff. So I really am excited about my testimony, my honesty, and like I said, this has been, you know, I'm 40 years of age, so I've gone back right to the past and come right back to the present, and putting the dots together, and it starts to make sense. And I think that's why, well, that's one of the reasons why my teaching completely changed from 217. I changed all of it, had to. The right thing to do. If God tells me to do something, I'm just going to do it. And I knew it. I feel so good doing it, teaching in this new direction. And obviously I had to go through my own healing of discovering who I was, and, you know, like my mentor says, letting go of the person that I wasn't, and those behaviours, and continuing. It's an ongoing process. There's still a lot more work to be done. I've still got a lot more growing up to do, a lot more work to do, and I've got a lot more people to help, and it's a blessing each and every day. So this is one of the lessons today that I'm grateful to say that I'm teaching men and women who have got an anxiety disorder like mine, or any fear, or even if they don't, even if anyone that I can help on this video to live their dreams and even just be a better person. It doesn't always have to mean that someone has got to watch my video and I've got to teach them and they've got to become a millionaire and they've got to have cars and travel the world. That's great if that's what's meant for them. But it's not really about that. It's helping them to be happy in their life, and just even if they say, well, I watched your video and I've discovered a fear, I've overcome it, and now I live every day in gratitude. That's purpose. Purpose is living in gratitude. I think we know deep down. And the extension, yeah, if someone can watch this, if there's a man or a woman and they're struggling financially, like I've struggled many times, and they're on benefits and they deserve it, and they can come off that, make some more money, they deserve, and buy themselves a nice outfit, they deserve it. I'm happy. Of course I want to do that from my heart. God's done it for me. I've been through that. So it encompasses all that. Or someone who's got a difficult relationship with their dad or their mum, and it's really been breaking their heart. I've been through it, and my relationship has improved massively with my parents. Then that means a lot to me, more than anything. So yeah, and if you want, I don't force people to do it. I choose to do it. It's the right thing to do, and it's one of my best ways of teaching. I realise that I'm not really. It's fine. I do it now and then because it has its merit. Like in this video, I'm going to teach you the 3 tips on how to overcome anxiety, and there's some beautifulness in that. But this is the real stuff. This is who I am. This is how I teach. I've got my own style, by opening up, by showing my vulnerabilities, but, you know, showing strength too. Strength in vulnerability, and living it, living the teaching, showing the improvement.